The God of the Bible, our God, is a God of new beginnings. So take a deep breath. We're going to find out what a gift that is. Let go, breathe out yesterday. It's all gone. You can't do anything about it. God's mercies are new today. Embrace this day because God is present in it. Lift up your hearts, and we're going to learn how to find the sacred, the presence of God, right here, right now. And I want to start by reading Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. And the word for today is breath, and the second word is inspiration. As you may know, in Hebrew, the word Ruach means both wind and breath and spirit. And that's true also for the Greek word pneuma. And then in Latin, spiritus, our word inspiration, expiration, to stop breathing. There's a connection in all of these languages. And this gets real important in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, and for you and me. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And the man became a living being. So I want to think with you about the miracle of breath, and today I want you and I to breathe. We often think of the spirit and breath as very separate. We think that breath is something physical. We do it on our own. It's a secular deal. We can do it with no help with God. And then we think of spirit as something that belongs probably to Christians, probably mostly to Christians who are like me, or probably who are better than me. It's pretty rare. It's pretty mysterious. That's not what Genesis is teaching. That would not be the thought of the writer of Genesis at all. The text doesn't say that God breathed into the person the breath of life the first time, and then after that they were breathing on their own. No. Every single breath in our lungs is the breath of God. Jack Levison, great Old Testament scholar and theologian, actually says the fact that the same word means spirit and breath is a great advantage in Hebrew, and we shouldn't separate them. He often uses the phrase spirit breath with a hyphen to remind us that breath is spirit and spirit is breath. And we see this very strongly, for example, in the book of Job. The Ruach of God is in every single breath of every human being. So just listen to these words. Job 27, verse 3, Job says, as long as I have life within me, the breath of God in my nostrils. Or Job 32, verse 8, but it is the spirit in a person, the breath of the Almighty, that gives them understanding. Or Job 33, 4, the Spirit of God has made me, the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Or this is very interesting, Job 34, 14, if it were his intention and he withdrew his spirit and his breath, all humanity would perish. In other words, God is sending his spirit and his breath into all humanity, everyone, everywhere, all the time. You might know that is the title of a movie that was quite popular last year. There's often an association of spirit and breath for a very good reason. Breath is the gift of God's Spirit inside of us. The Spirit breath is in everybody, so you better be ready to meet with the Spirit, to listen to the Spirit in every single human being that you see. Christians don't actually have the sole franchise on the Spirit. What happens, as you may know, in the New Testament, on the day of Pentecost, God pours out his Spirit in a fresh way on the followers of Jesus, making possible a new relationship with the same Spirit, not a relationship with a different spirit. We are to live now under the inspiration of the Spirit with every breath we take. Here's the problem: we are breathing wrong. There's a huge New York Times bestseller a few years ago by an author named James Nestor, and it was simply called Breathe. It sold over 2 million copies. Really interesting book. And he talks about the significance, the importance of breath, and how actually 90% of us are breathing wrong. You will take about 670 million breaths during your life. He says most of us breathe on average every 3.3 seconds, and that's too often, too rapid. And most of us are mouth breathers. It's very interesting in the text. It says God breathed into the man's nostrils. And Nestor writes quite a lot about how the mouth is made for eating, but the nose is made for breathing. And that mouth breathing is associated with higher blood pressure and elevated pulse rates. And the nostril is actually designed to cleanse the air for us. There was a guy, George Catlin, back in the 19th century that was real big on this. And he actually wrote a book called The Breath of Life. That title is from Genesis. And then he sold it again under a new title, Shut Your Mouth and Save Your Life. He said the best health advice anybody can give you is shut your mouth. And now the fact that we breathe wrong is true not only physically, and it's connected, but spiritually. It is not an accident that almost all spiritual traditions, different religions, will associate breath, attending to our breath with spirit and prayer, and the fact that it does something to our attention and our mind. And that is because when that air is coming into your nostrils, that is the Ruach, the breath of God. It is not an accident that human beings find this such a profoundly mind-altering, life-altering, soul-altering, spiritual experience. So, are you living an inspired life? Part of the good news of this is the Spirit of God is closer to you than you have any idea. And you don't have to earn it. You don't have to merit it. It doesn't depend on how good you did yesterday or in the last moment. God is sending you every breath. It is not a secular thing. It is a gift of His Spirit. So, what I want to do in the time that's left is actually practice breathing. And there's a Christian writer, neuro-researcher, Jeffrey Schwartz, who has talked about this in a way that I find real helpful in my own life and in my own prayer. So we're going to practice that. As you might know, very often folks that try to cultivate mindfulness, and Jeffrey says mindfulness is simply having very clear awareness, as though from the outside, from a wise perspective, of your life, of your inner life, of your thoughts, in a way that enables you to practice discernment with God. Just simply that, to be fully mindful. And the best way to practice that is a kind of breath prayer. And it's actually good for your body too, because God created your body and He created breath. So the idea in this form of breath, Jeffrey says, is you might actually think of that verse, Genesis 2:7, and God breathed into the nostrils of the man the breath of life. You understand now, the writer of Genesis isn't saying that happened one time like CPR and then it was done. That's every breath, everyone, everywhere you. God is breathing, God is blowing His wind, His air, His breath, His Spirit into you with every breath. So, there's a pace at which it is good to breathe. James Nestor in his book writes that most of us only breathe into 1/3 of our lungs. We are under-inspired. We are under-inspired, under-inflated by the Spirit. So Jeffrey talks about this rhythm. We'll do this in a minute, where you breathe into the count of 4, and you count like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, and then you breathe out 1, 2, 3, 2. And then you breathe in again, 1, 2, 3, 3. And then you breathe out again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you want, you can repeat that cycle. And you're simply trying to notice the gift of God, the movement of those air molecules into and out of your nostrils. As you think about this, God breathed into the human being the breath of life. So if you're sitting, sit up straight, comfortably straight, feet on the floor, grounded on God's earth. Close your eyes if you want to. Relax your body. You are now receiving the Spirit, the breath of God. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 1. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 2. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 3. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now just sit for a moment. And you can practice that anytime as a form of Genesis 2:7 prayer. And it will make you more mindful, and it can make you more inspired, more receptive to the Spirit of God. All through this day, as you think about it, just pause and breathe and be aware and be grateful and be inspired. Let's breathe right today. End of teaching. Beginning of your day with God.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Tim. I'm a part of the team here at Become New. If you'd like to receive the emails that go along with each video, you can let us know at becomenew.com/subscribe. Or if you'd like to receive a text alert whenever we release a new video, you can text the word BECOME to the number 855-888-0444. If you have a prayer request, please let us know. You can text that request to that same number, 855-888-0444. There's a group of us who meet every day to pray over those requests. So we look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.